high-level mixed martial arts. That is what we saw in the main event of UFC Macau that went down in China this past Saturday morning, at least morning time here in the States. Petr Yan does it again, now on a 2-fight win streak. He gets the unanimous decision over the course of 25 minutes over the former flyweight champion turned bantamweight contender, Deiveson Figueiredo. We all knew, at least the hardcore fans knew, just how great this fight was on paper and what would transpire in that cage. Ultimately just secured our thoughts about how great this fight would be, how high level it would be, and the high stakes that were on the line in this fight. And now with Petr Yan being the winner, let's talk about how his performance was and what could be next for the former bantamweight champion. 31 years old, right now in his prime, yet Petr Yan has already been a champion in this 135-pound weight class. He's already fought the who's who of this division over the last 5 years. Yes, most of those have been losses, but in very competitive bouts. A title fight loss to Aljamain Sterling, a very controversial loss to turned champion Sean O'Malley, and then a loss to the now champion Merab Dvalishvili. But he put that 3-fight losing streak to the wayside by beating Song Yadong at UFC 299 and then turning it up a notch even more and getting a 5-round main event victory over Deiveson Figueiredo, who was 3-0 since moving up to the 135-pound weight class. And to me, this was a number 1 contendership bout. It was number 3 versus number 5, 2 former champions, 2 of the most underappreciated yet still so appreciated fighters in all of the UFC at this point in time. And this performance to me showed that Petr Yan will hold the bantamweight championship again. It's not a matter of if, but it is a matter of when. When will he regain the title that he once held around his waist? Could it be in his next fight? Will he get that rematch with Merab Dvalishvili, this time with the championship on the line? Or will Umar Nurmagomedov get the title shot that we all thought was going to happen potentially at the end of this year in December or early on in 2025? Now, we talked about this drama that happened on Friday's preview where Umar Nurmagomedov was kind of rumored to main event UFC Tampa, which is the last fight night of the year for the UFC, against Song Yadong and not for the Bantamweight Championship. That fight obviously never came to fruition. But still no fight announcement for him versus Merab, so much so that after Petr Yan's victory and call-out of former opponent in Merab Dvalishvili, Merab acknowledged him and called for a fight in March in Las Vegas, the championship on the line, Yan versus Merab Part 2.
Great fight, Peter. I like your call-out and I like your respect. Let's go again after 2 years. Let's fucking go.
What is happening with Umar Nurmagomedov, the undefeated prospect? What is he, 26, 27 years old, 17 or 18-0, coming off of a beautiful decision victory over Corey Sandhagen in Abu Dhabi back in August? I'm not quite sure. I do feel that Umar should get the opportunity to jumping up as high as he did and having a convincing decision over someone as high level and skilled as Corey Sandhagen does say a lot. I think you have to capitalize on that momentum that Umar has if you're the UFC and pair him with Merab, but I don't really know why it hasn't been booked. So if there is some sort of drama or miscommunications or issues getting a contract signed between those two, in the meantime, why not give us the rematch that we all want to see in the fight that Petr Yan called for after his victory, and the fight that the champion called for after watching this performance from Petr Yan? Again, this was from minute 1 to minute 25, almost a clinic for Petr Yan. Yes, Deiveson had a takedown here or there with some control time. Yes, Deiveson even had a flash knockdown of Petr Yan, but if you look outside of those moments, Petr Yan looked absolutely incredible and actually started quite well. He usually is known to be a slow starter, not here in this bout. Once he was able to flip positioning on the bottom from that first round takedown, maintain top control for the remainder of that fight, steal that round, and then from there on, absolutely looked phenomenal on the feet. Does Petr Yan have the best uppercut in mixed martial arts? The answer is yes. This man continues to get better and better. One of the most skilled fighters on the entire roster, one of the most skilled strikers on the entire roster, not just in the 135-pound division. Now, if we do inevitably get Umar versus Merab, which I do hope we get, that does seem to be the fight that makes the most sense. What does Petr Yan do? Does he just sit and wait for the winner? I said on Friday that the winner of this fight has earned that opportunity to sit and wait, whether it was Figgy or Yan. They should fight the winner of Merab versus Umar. But if Petr Yan wants to remain active, who else could he fight now that he is sitting at number 3 in this division? Well, the only guy ahead of him would be a rematch, but not with Merab, with Suga Sean O'Malley, the former bantamweight champion, someone who has beaten Petr Yan once before, as previously mentioned, but in a very, very close split decision that many would say was controversial. And that is what got Sean O'Malley to the title fight against Sterling and ultimately led to him becoming the champion and even getting a title defense this year. I feel like that fight did happen long enough ago now that a rematch would make sense. Sean O'Malley was the champion. It could be his first fight back since getting dethroned at Noche UFC by Merab. Petr Yan has fought 3 times since, went 2-1. The only loss is to Merab Dvalishvili. The only loss for him and Sean O'Malley since their first fight was to the very same man. So why not have them duke it out in a rematch? The winner gets in for the next title shot after Umar versus Merab Dvalishvili. That to me seems to be the most logical path to victory. Everyone is accounted for from champion to number 3, and man, what a way to just continue garnering some momentum if you're Petr Yan, who once was on a 3-fight skid. Many were concerned about the future of his career, having even dropped 4 of 5 fights in total between 2021 and March of 2023, but now is absolutely surging. He is back at the forefront of every mixed martial arts fan's brains right now after this beautiful performance over Deiveson Figueiredo. I'm all for anything involving Petr Yan come 2025, whether that is a title shot, whether that is a rematch with Suga Sean O'Malley, or any other mixture of opponents. I am here for Petr No Mercy Yan. The comeback is on. He will be champion once again. And quickly for Deiveson Figueiredo, as I said, started out 3-0 in this 135-pound division and looked damn good over the course of those 3 fights. Decision victories over Rob Font and Marlon Vera, and a finish victory sandwiched in between over former champion Cody Garbrandt. So now 3-1 in this division, still going to be in the top 5 come Tuesday morning, and 36 years old, so time isn't necessarily on his side, but I think there are still plenty of fresh matchups, obviously being that he is a newcomer to this division over the last year, and I think he still can make some noise, and I still think he could potentially challenge for a title before he decides to hang up the gloves. But for now, how about Corey Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo? Now, originally, I called for Corey Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley when Corey lost to Umar, but things change so quickly in this sport, man. So now I'm thinking, let's pair these 6 fighters together. It's Merab versus Umar for the title. It's Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan in a rematch and a number 1 contendership spot. And then it's Corey Sandhagen and Deiveson Figueiredo. Oh my goodness, how elite is this 135-pound bantamweight division. Next, we go to the co-main event, and it was a big one in the women's strawweight division where we saw the number 2 ranked former title challenger Yan Xiaonan bounce back from her title fight loss in April at UFC 300 to Zhang Weili, and she does it with a very convincing decision over the number 10 ranked 29-year-old Tabatha Ricci. Yan Xiaonan, quite frankly, just looked levels ahead in this bout here. She's won 3 of her last 4 fights. The only loss is to the champion in Zhang Weili. She looked incredible from the first minute of this fight to the 15th minute, controlled every portion of this fight. She led the dance. Tabatha Ricci was not really able to find success anywhere. For starters, she wasn't able to get the fight to the ground where she is the strongest with her grappling and jiu-jitsu, and because of that, she is just not at the level of a striker and boxer that Yan Xiaonan is. It is that simple. I think this was a little bit too much too soon for the 29-year-old Tabatha Ricci. Yes, she was 2-0 in 2024 leading into this. She was deserving of getting a decent step up up, but going from number 10 to number 2 against someone who was very, very skilled, very versatile, very talented, and very, very seasoned against the best of the best, it just wasn't the right time for this fight. I feel like Tabatha could have fought one more time before getting a true number 1 contendership test here. So now she is set back a little bit. She's not going to get bounced out of the rankings or anything like that, but her next opponent will obviously not be of the skill set that Yan Xiaonan and a champion like Zhang Weili possesses. Now, I'm not quite sure, and again, this was talked about on Friday as well, what is going on with Zhang Weili, who was in attendance in her home country of China. I wish they would have given her the opportunity to defend her belt on this fight night card, but that is not what we get. Instead, we see Zhang Weili from April, where she beat Yan Xiaonan, to the end of the year and starting off 2025 with no scheduled fights or even rumors of any fights happening. Virna Jandiroba was slated to face Tatiana Suarez. That fight had to fall through due to Tatiana Suarez having to be removed from that bout, but the UFC didn't schedule Virna versus Zhang Weili as a replacement. So, what are we doing here? They're definitely not going to run back an immediate rematch between Yan and Zhang Weili. I just don't see that happening. So, let's pick. Who will face Zhang Weili? Whether it's Tatiana or whether it's Virna, I have no issue with either. I think they are both true number 1 contenders, and both have fought and earned their crack at being a number 1 contender. That's why I didn't think that fight between the two of them was necessary to begin with. So let's just flip a coin if we're in the UFC matchmaking room come Tuesday. Pick which one of them will face Zhang Weili, and whoever doesn't should face Yan Xiaonan next, whether that's Virna Jandiroba or whether that's Tatiana Suarez. And then we have a true number 1 contendership where Yan Xiaonan would make it 2 straight victories and a rightful claim to challenge for the title once again. And for whether it's Tatiana or Virna, they continue to add to their win streak, beat a former title challenger, and get their crack at becoming the strawweight champion. Not to mention, whether it's Tatiana or Virna, they are both fresh matchups for Yan Xiaonan, which is saying a lot considering she's been in the organization dating back to 2017. That's what we do next with this strawweight division. And as we get into the rest of the card, the discussions won't be quite as in-depth, but there are some notable performances to touch on and some rankings that could be in play. First off was Muslim Salikhov at 40 years young, gets a spinning wheel kick knockout in the first round over Song Kenan. He's 21-5, finished 16 out of 21, been finished in 4 out of 5. Look, he's not going to be challenging for a title before his career is over, but he is guaranteed to be in some very fun fights with fighters on the outside looking in at 170, even in the back portion of the rankings as well. Gabriella Fernandes secured the biggest upset of 2024 potentially. I can't really think of one bigger off the top of my head. If I'm put on the spot right here recording, she beat Wang Song, and she did it via submission in the second round after dropping Wang on the feet with a nasty strike, pounced on her immediately, put her to sleep with the rear naked choke. Wang Song was closing as around a minus 1,000 favorite heading into this fight. The Joker, who had a walk-off KO in her debut, has beaten Valentina Shevchenko in Muay Thai or kickboxing. I can't remember which. I'm pretty sure it was Muay Thai in the past before. Had a ton of hype. Essentially was being kind of pushed like Alex Pereira was with his history with Israel Adesanya, but the momentum and the storylines were put to a halt. Gabriella Fernandes now 2-2 in the UFC, but on back-to-back wins. Carlos Ulberg extended his win streak to 7 fights in a row, sitting at 11-1 now at 34 years old. The Black Jag will now crack into the top 10 of the light heavyweight division after this victory over former title challenger Volkan Oezdemir, who was number 8 heading into this card. I feel like Ulberg is realistically one victory away from true title contention, specifically if it is someone like Khalil Roundtree, because that is the next matchup. Carlos Ulberg on a huge win streak, been starching everyone, and now here, yes, it wasn't a knockout over Volkan, but it was a very controlled, disciplined showcase on the feet for 15 minutes against Khalil Roundtree, who was on a 5-fight win streak heading into his title fight with Alex Pereira in October. Yes, he lost that fight, but he showed just how damn good he is. Put Alex Pereira in some spots that we have not seen anyone else do in this light heavyweight division before getting finished finished in that 4th round. Khalil Roundtree, Carlos Ulberg. If Carlos Ulberg wins, he launches himself into title contention status. We may have a legit light heavyweight prospect on our hands because Zhang Mingyang is 18-6, but hear me out. All 18 victories are by way of finish. Let me take it a step further. All 18 victories are by first round stoppage as he gets the first round TKO here at UFC Macau over Otty Diaz. 2 minutes and 25 seconds is all it took. In his UFC debut, he took on Brinson Ribeiro. He finished him in 1 minute and 41 seconds. He is a road to UFC veteran, but he didn't ultimately get to finish through that season and become the champion of that tournament. However, he has not lost a fight since October 18th of 2019. He is on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fight win streak. This guy is 26 years old. He is built like a brick. He's slow, he's methodical, but when he launches for the finish, his opponents go to sleep. And I want to finish off by talking about the 3 championship winners of Road to UFC for this 2024 season. We'll start in the 135-pound bantamweight division where Suyoung Yu got the decision victory. He is the bantamweight tournament winner. In the flyweight division, Donghun Choi got a brutal one-punch knockout over Kiru Sahota. That was in the very first round there to be the flyweight champion. Massively disadvantaged, by the way. 5-inch height disadvantage, like a 5, 6, 7, 8-inch reach disadvantage. It didn't matter. He closed the distance, got the knockout shot, and oh my word, the head kick heard around the world. One of the brutal knockouts of 2024. How rarely in this sport, thankfully, may I add, do we see fighters get carried out of the octagon on a stretcher. That is what happened here when Ming Shi got the head kick knockout over Xiaocan Feng in the 3rd and final round, just 46 seconds in, to become the strawweight winner of Road to the UFC for 2024. And she did it in a very, very dangerous way. So give me your thoughts on UFC Macau in the comments below. The first trip to China for the UFC since 2019, if I'm not mistaken. That is when Zhang Weili beat Jessica Andrade to become the UFC strawweight champion for the first time. Fact check me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what Michael Bisping was saying on the broadcast. Nevertheless, it was a pretty solid morning of fights. I didn't get to watch them live, unfortunately, so I wasn't as active on social media, but I did go back in the evening and touch on all of the most notable fights, and what a night it truly was, capped off by that fantastic bantamweight main event, high-level MMA. There's nothing more beautiful than it, baby. So give me your thoughts and your biggest takeaways from that main event and the rest of the card as well. What's next for the big winners? What is at stake as they head into 2025? Now just 2 events remain on the UFC calendar for this year. If you enjoyed this recap, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Every week I recap the most meaningful results from every card. Heading into each card, I give my thoughts and opinions on the biggest moments, the biggest fights, and what is at stake, the storylines, so on and so forth, and I discuss MMA news and fight announcements as well. You can join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and you can follow on your favorite audio listening platform where every Friday and Monday podcast episodes release on Spotify, Apple, and more. Have a great upcoming week, and I will see you in the next video.